Hello everyone, I'm Saffia Widdershins, and today my guest at Meet the Lindens is Patch Linden, who I think is known to many of you. A little bit of background first. Resident since 2004, Patch was born into Second Life as a Linden in September of 2007. As the VP of Product Operations, Patch works to bring the best of product and support-based decisions on a daily operational basis to the virtual world platform for Second Life, while maintaining oversight of how all the various teams within Linden Lab can best work together for the highest good of the residents and the business. That sounds a pretty impressive list of what you do, Patch.
Well, I don't like to brag, but I keep myself busy.
You do. Patch is perhaps best known to residents for his work on the Linden Holmes project and the creation of the continent of Belisaria, as well as other mole projects that I'm hoping we're going to get a few hints about. Maybe.
Maybe.
And we're hopeful after your keynote opener of a big announcement too.
I heard that we might have some pretty big news today.
Okay. Patch, what do you think are the most significant changes you've seen in Second Life? Because you've been here a long time. Or do you tend to forget how things were in the old days, like picking earrings out of your backside? Although that was probably more me than you.
No, I'm sure I remember and have forgotten a lot of different things. There has certainly been a lot of significant changes over the years. Everything from the early days of the first environmental changes that were brought into Second Life that were known as wind light, and content improvement changes such as Sculpties, right, which was kind of the first big changes to content creation, and everybody trying to kind of bring that stuff into the fold, followed by Mesh, of course, which was huge, is huge still, and various improvements to that. We've had other technological changes such as the move to AWS, things like pathfinding, just so many things, right? It's hard to enumerate them all because 19 years, right? That's a long time.
Yeah.
And it's quite the road to have forged a path down in history, and we have been the fortunate leaders and forefront of all of the things that I feel metaverses and virtual worlds try to attain.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. Yes, someone mentioned 2007 introduction of voice. That was a biggie.
Yes, voice bakes on mesh. I saw that go by.
Oh, I love bakes on mesh.
Yes.
Okay, now when you were first here, you ran a menswear store, I think, and thereby performed a tremendous service for the male population of Second Life. Do you still have any of your old clothes, and does bakes on mesh give you the chance to wear them again?
I do still have it. The store actually is still there too. Sadly, sort of, maybe in a way, because I don't have the heart to take it down or put it away or anything, because I do tend to be quite the archivist in general. So I don't like removing things that had significant holdings or place in my mind in history. But yes, there are certain things that I had made back then and over the years that actually do work with bakes on mesh. Until you hit items, because it was around that time that I became a Linden, where sculpts became popular and really kind of permeated, especially the clothing market. So you got attachment add-ons for things like collars or sleeves and things for your shirts, right?
Yeah.
Because they gave you that 3D look. I guess you could like do popped collars and stuff, but I didn't do that. But yeah, other than stuff that I might have made in the past that used sculpt add-ons and such actually do work. It's kind of neat.
That's very cool. Now, the last 2 years have seen a dramatic shift in the outside world, the real world, as some people call it. There have been several, in fact. I was thinking of the impact of the pandemic, particularly. We did see an upsurge in new residents and returners when the pandemic hit. Has this been sustained, or is there a slow fallback as many people now believe that the pandemic in its most virulent form is largely over?
We are still well above prior pandemic levels. The surge has not come to an end. We are still seeing increases across the board in all sorts of various things that we tend to watch. From economic activity in world to land economic activity, marketplace spending and purchasing trends, everything, and including even Lindex, Linden Dollar Exchange, and process credit requests, also all still are in basically kind of a peak state still as they were from entering the pandemic. Are they still on the rise as what they were coming into the pandemic and the beginnings of it? No, that has slowed a bit, but certainly haven't seen any decreases.
Right. Okay. Um, the one other recent change has been the sudden interest in the metaverse. Do you think this is going to be good for Second Life, the kind of increased hype around the metaverse, or do you think it's a problem?
I think it's good. I tend to view all of the the hype and the interest in all of the various metaverse takes or new entrants to creating virtual worlds here lately, even the legless ones, as a like an all boats rise sort of situation. The
Yeah.
metaverse, in order to really be the metaverse, has to exist not just in one sole singular entity. I feel that it does have to be multiple virtual worlds that come together and will operate and potentially even have interoperability at some point together. In some form or fashion, right? It's
Right.
still so early, and it's so hard to tell what that might look like in the future, and that future is still years away, in my opinion. I don't think that the path forward is clear on that, but I also don't know if there would ever be any one singular winner at the end of the day. That we would all say is the definition of Web3, for example.
Right. Okay. Something you referred to a bit earlier, you talked about the economy and the marketplace being on a fairly high level still. And it's something that I was interested in, um, looking at Second Life as a kind of functioning economy, which is something that I'll be talking about tomorrow with Overwolf Linden and Philip Linden. But I was wondering if you could tell me how the GDP of Second Life, what it consists of.
Oh, that's pretty easy. It's all of the transactions that take place running through the Second Life economy. Are added together, and you get some total of all of those that take place. User to user, because that's generally what the entire platform, in Second Life's economy is based on, is user to user transactions. So you add all of those together, you come up with this astounding figure, which, depending on which way you look at it, you can say it's all Linden dollars and then convert that and get a US dollar equivalency, which I actually think I mentioned in my opening speech. And that's, where that comes from. It's all of that economic activity taking place within Second Life.
Right, good. Now, before we move on to something else, I just want to point out that we will hopefully be taking questions later. And at the side of the stage, you'll see V, who is Varian Altney. V, can you stand up, jump up and down a bit, or perhaps run briefly to the centre of the stage? Because V is going to take questions, and the idea is that she will then hand me a note card so I can ask your questions to Patch.
Saw Sarah ask if I'm a real redhead. My hair
Yeah.
has, in fact, turned kind of a little bit of a reddish brown color as I have gotten older.
Right. A certain glow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually used to be more of a blonde, but that was probably related to the sun in Florida.
Aha. Right. Yeah, I'm blonde in real life too, but I don't have quite such impressive hairstyles as Saffia. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about event regions. This is an event region, isn't it? Can you tell me a little about them and how they evolve?
Yeah. So we started tinkering with the notion of, what could we do to kind of flex our AWS muscles a bit, and try to come up with what is to be probably the first attempt at a product that leveraged all of that hard work the teams did, and all of the um, hard work that even all of you as residents did in bearing with us through some of those important times and things when we were transitioning services over, and the ups and downs of that, to see what we could do with it. And the first idea we kind of had was to look around and say, well, one of the things that has been sort of the tip of the glacier in my mind was, when you do really big, large scale events in Second Life, concurrency matters, in my opinion. And the more people you can get concurrently in a space, the more impactful, right, being immersed in that event and its environment becomes. The days where you would go to a club, and even if a full region had a 100 avatar limit, but would start to basically kind of get bogged down under the load and strain of the resources by the time 40 or 50 people would get there, depending on other various impacts. Right, it's kind of a very nebulous thing to talk about performance in a lot of ways, because there's so many different things that can come from various angles that can impact it. But if a region was really smartly built, and even as you had potentially seen in past birthday events and other large scale events that even we hosted and do ourselves. The the avatar limits, right, on these regions used to be set at like 65. Well, now with the events regions and the types of hosting that we can kind of put behind them with the various things that AWS offers, it allows us to really kind of dial up the performance. And we started doing early testing on that with some really large scale shopping events. And one of them actually was kind of noticed by quite a few people, and that was Equal 10. And we at one point hit 231 avatars concurrent in one of their regions at one of their shopping events. And it was huge. And the region was running fairly well. We discovered that was the upper limit of what it could do for other various reasons, mostly related to the back end. But it was great, and it was also amazing in the sense that, like, even for me, and I'm not using any kind of like super Linden computer or super Linden build or anything. I use the same viewer that everybody else uses, and I have a pretty typical off the shelf yeah, it is a gaming laptop, but it's like a 1080, an NVIDIA GTX 1080, right? So that's not even the latest in standards. They're like on 3090s now and stuff. So, when I could go into that event and wander around and actually walk, right, and not get the rubber banding and lagging, I could actually freely move around and walk. And, I was sitting there running at like 25 FPS. Sure, I was controlling a little bit of that through avatar rendering costs, and I was set at like 50,000. I was set the second notch down from, the highest setting on the graphics. And yes, I did have my draw distance set to 64. But still, it was reasonable, and it was decent, and it was performant. And I had a lot of people around me, and, I could shop, and the vendors worked, and things ran great. So we were seeing, great increases out of script performance. And there are a couple of different things that we've discovered along the way. It does seem like events regions tend to run best when they're standalone. And so, like, when we've got this situation here where we've got 4 regions bolted onto one another, and we have this kind of phenomenon called child agents, where everybody is also counted again as being able to see into the regions that they can see into around them. If you ever look at the region statistics bar for those of us who like to get into this stuff, you'll see that count. And that count is also a fairly laden traffic hit and performance hit to the neighboring and adjoining simulators. And then, of course, the regions that they're running on. So that's why when we had the opening ceremony speech, we had it set pretty open. In fact, I think we were set at like 175 per region. And we realized that we were crossing some thresholds there with all of those neighboring connections being made, and we had to dial it back some. But I don't know what the current count is now on the regions. But I think we're okay. I'm seeing like 122. I'm looking at the back end real quick, which just might be a minute or two behind. I'm like 125 in Exhilarate, 90 in Fascinate, and 85 in Wondrous, and that's huge, right?
Yes,
that's a lot of people concurrently in one space, and we're doing it, knock on wood, pretty successfully, in my opinion. So we'll have some more to talk about events, regions, and maybe some changes and such, and some other things that are going to take place and happen with them. And I'm going to save that for Grumpy and Mojo for their Meet the Lindens chat on Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make sure to ask them about it. So, shall we turn to the big one? The thing that you've been hinting about.
I actually want to catch one comment out of the crowd about the cost. So we are going to permanently extend and/or the normal price of an event region going forward will be the $5.99 a month. So I'll drop that one here now.
Right.
But we'll let Grumpy talk about the rest of it then.
Right. So people who hire regions for an event will be paying that price for the event.
Right. So you can come in and get one of those regions. There will be no setup cost. $5.99 a month, like you would pay for a normal full private island with us, and get all of the great features and capabilities that come with it.
Right. Yeah. So,
What I think will happen, I think we will potentially see some landy types pick it up. And when I say landy types, I mean folks that rent regions. And maybe offer them for shorter term event rentals,
yeah.
like 1-2 week at a time, pop up things, go up and down.
Yeah.
And so you can potentially get them for shorter durations of time. And, of course you'd pay them like in Linden dollars, like you would a typical region rental fee, and go on from there.
Brilliant. Okay. So, having said that, having put that bar down, we have some big news.
Yes, you started to tease something big is coming.
Yes. Well, I was listening to your keynote and it was like, oh ho, I think he's going to talk about it.
Yes.
Meet the
Yes.
Lindens. So I got very excited.
Yes. I think people will be super excited about this. So yeah, I guess without further ado, I am pleased to announce Teleport Plus. It is going to be a paid for expedited teleportation service to get you into regions. I'm just kidding. That's not really it. Before somebody throws things at me, I better stop.
Right.
Okay, seriously.
Seriously.
Premium Plus. Let's talk all about Premium Plus.
Okay, they're just responding me.
Yeah, they're a few minutes behind us. That's why I kind of gave us a few seconds pause there. Hey, we could really go farther with that too. Like, not only could we charge like for, teleportation plus, we could also do like lightning teleports where you pay like $7 per teleport or something like that, and you just get it immediately no matter what happens.
Yeah.
No, really, we won't do that.
Okay, let's get to it. Premium Plus.
Yes, Premium Plus. Oh, where do I start? Saffia, this has been coming for so long.
I know. And Second Life residents, when you ask them, have a whole range of amazing ideas of what benefits they'd like to see.
Yes, and I hope people aren't disappointed. I saw, and I like I've said to people before, I may not always answer and speak up in the forums, but gosh, I read them every day. It's like my morning newspaper. And I saw, like the big thread where folks were like, it would be great if we had this and this and this, and lots of feature requests out there. And we tried to put together a package of features that are useful, compelling, interesting, meaningful. And while I don't think we're going to hit everyone's desires out of the gate, I do think that we have a lot of exciting features that are actually actively being worked on in the background, and as a continuation of how we have traditionally, been proven, and I feel we have a track record in, our feature improvements to even regular premium accounts over time. And
Yes.
so I feel that will also be very true. I know it'll be true. In fact, not feel. It will be true of Premium Plus as well going forward.
That's
so with
very
that,
good news.
let's talk about some features.
Let's.
And then we'll talk about costs.
Can I ask first feature, could we talk about land? Are there going to be any land features?
There will be. Yes.
Yeah.
So, in fact, I can start with that one. And, again, because I saw somebody like ask in the forums, would we, do something with other like land product types like islands and such that might become like a premium plus benefit. My response to that is, it's something we could consider in the future, but we're going to start with this one. And like I've always said, anytime we tend to twist and turn the dials on various product features within Second Life, we like to have some time to let them soak so that we understand the impacts to the economy. And so for this very first one, and as a land feature benefit, we are going to double the amount of mainland tier included with the account from 1024 square meters to 2048 square meters. So right off the bat, that opens up a probably a follow-on question that I will just bring up now, which is how will that impact Linden Homes?
Yes.
It will impact Linden Homes probably in the way you might imagine, and that is, you can use it and split it up amongst the various Linden home types. Right now, we offer 2 different parcel sizes for some of the various types of Linden homes, a 512 square meter parcel size, which catered to the original. We have a 1024 square meter parcel size, which caters to most of the new ones. And there's a mix of both. You can still only have one Linden home no matter what going forward, and we will offer 2048 square meter parcel type Linden homes later down the road to fit this offering. So that is as I just saw Sarah saying in chat, a soon TM. We still have a little bit of work to do on that actual Linden home offering itself, but we also just released 2 themes, for the first half of this year. We've got more to come. We can talk about that a little later.
Yes.
Weekly stipends for Linden dollars increases from 300 to 650 Linden dollar per week.
That's nice.
Yeah. Group membership, which I think this is probably a big one, doubles from 70 to 140 groups you can be in.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh.
That's going to be a huge one.
Yes.
Maybe even as important to some people as the land increase.
I think so,
In fact, I tend to think people like their Linden homes as they are now. I'm sure a lot, would love to have larger, and we may do some other interesting things. And we'll talk about Linden homes later because I don't want to blow all of that now. But
let's keep
it'll be versatile. We'll have a good handle on that.
Right.
The cap for your missed messages will increase from 80 to 160. Texture, sound, and animation upload fees are eliminated.
Wow, that's going to make a huge difference to businesses.
Yep.
Is that actually going to include Animesh uploads?
You mean, well, mesh uploads themselves are separate from those 3, and that is coming soon. That was one of the features we couldn't squeeze in time for this release, but we are working on it actively in the background right now, and it will get added.
I know a lot of creators would be very happy with free mesh uploads.
So Animesh attachment limits also will increase, since we just talked about, you mentioned Animesh specifically from 1 to 2.
Yeah.
So that will also happen. Sign up bonus for new Premium Plus subscribers is 3,000 Linden dollars. You will get a special support phone line for direct concierge level support that only Premium Plus members will get.
How will that affect non-US people?
Well, you will still have the ability to call a toll-free 800 base number out of the US. That's usually pretty easy to accomplish if you use something like Skype with dial out, where you can still call 800 numbers for free. And you can call the support team. There is, our operating hours are, will be published in the various knowledge bases and articles. They're not changing, but there is chat going in the background right now that we may actually expand our hours to be a little bit earlier US time, which will be a little bit EU friendly. So more to come on that.
Right.
The group creation fee, another one, will be reduced from $100 Linden to 10. You will get 2 land experiences that you can make over the one that you originally could.
Now that's going to be useful for people like Loki Elliott, I should think.
Yes. For those folks who like to run and host events, and especially the recurring ones that typically cost you $50 Linden, it goes to 0.
Wow.
Um,
Are you going to put out a list of this on a website near us?
Yeah, so we will post all of the features and such with all these various points in a blog post, like an official announcement blog post here in the next couple days. Well, I might as well go ahead and then bring up the fact that this will launch, all fingers crossed, if nothing changes, on Second Life's birthday, June 23rd.
Oh, wonderful.
And we will come out with an initial launch promotional pricing for the monthly account type for the first month at $24.99.
Mm-hmm.
The normal monthly price will be $29.99 a month, and annual will be $249.
Okay.
Now,
Yes.
talk about a couple more things around Linden Homes specific stuff.
Okay.
We are
Well,
going to.
let's just V. Have you heard any questions about this? Is oh, someone has asked about prim count on land. I guess that depends on the whole land.
Yeah, so you will not get there isn't a notion of getting a prim increase bonus for signing up for Premium Plus. At least not at this time.
Right.
It is something that I really wanted to do, but not yet.
But, yeah, I would imagine that could be quite tricky because it's okay for a region to increase like you did when you increased private islands and then increased mainland. So people all had more prims. But I should imagine it's actually quite hard to increase by parcel sizes.
It is, and that's actually a lot of what kind of steered us away from tackling that challenge immediately.
Mm.
And I don't know where that might land in the future.
Okay. Diamond Merchant has asked, please repeat the pricing. People are making notes. And so there is
so $24.99 per month is the introductory monthly rate, and we're going to run that special for the first 30 days after we launch it. $29.99 a month normally, or $249 a month, or $249 annually.
would it be possible to keep the $24.99 introductory monthly rate, sort of so that people coming in subsequently can still get that?
Like in perpetuity?
Yeah. I'm not saying that people who've taken it then get introductory forever. What I'm saying is that, say someone comes in November, would they be able to get the free, sort of low cost month?
At that time, no. Unless we're running another special on it, which I don't know if we have thought that far ahead yet.
Okay. It's just like, if it was a rollover offer for people coming in later, it might be nice.
Yes, and you know, who knows, right? We could potentially run another special later on in the year. We have the capability to do it if we feel like that's a good thing to do. Couple more things though that are specifically related to Linden Homes, and
Yes,
some other goodies.
and we ought to go for this because we've got a quarter of an hour left.
Yes, well, this is still Premium Plus.
Oh, this is still Premium
This is still
Plus.
Premium Plus.
Okay. Can you stay a bit longer?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm
Oh,
fine
good,
on time.
good.
So you'll be able to claim or request a specific Linden home as long as it remains available through the duration of the time in which you place the request with support manually. So I've got to heavily caveat that with the fact that because the Linden Homes assignment system, and everyone tends to refer to, you know, the whole rolling of homes, 5 homes a day allotment that you get every 24 hours, and such, and you play the whole game of homes thing and such, that whole system is all fully automated. And even we can't beat it ourselves. We can't
Right.
turn it off. We can't beat it. So, where this is particularly useful is if we release a whole batch of new homes, or if there are still quite a few homes and inventory sitting out there that are probably not in areas that the house assigner is currently assigning or allotting houses from.
Mm-hmm.
You could file a support request with the land operations team,
Mm-hmm.
and say, hey, I want this home at this, you know, parcel coordinates in this region here. And as long as you don't currently have a Linden home in your account, and as soon as the team gets to it, usually within about a day, 24 hours, and as long as it's not over the weekend,
Mm-hmm.
um, the team will check it, make sure it's still available, and they will just assign it to you directly, and you'll have it.
Wow. Would it be possible if, say, there were 2 or 3 of you that had Premium Plus accounts that you could actually get
You
together and
actually could.
form a little community?
You could.
That is amazing.
And
That's
that's why I
wonderful.
wanted to do it, because I
Yeah.
also saw it as a way for the other requests that we sometimes see of, like, you know, I want to get a home next to my friends, or
Yes.
all of my friends want to kind of group together and get homes kind of like in this little block, you know, of an area
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something of that nature. And I saw this as a way to do this for now in the interim until we can potentially actually do some work to the assigner and you know, perhaps automate it at some point in the future.
That
uh
sounds really cool.
yeah. You know, and on top of that, as I started to tease earlier, we will launch some more home themes with, you know, the usage specifically of the new parcel sizes. We are looking at ways to potentially also allow folks to use the 2048 square meter parcel allotment with current home types.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, where we might have, you know, maybe more selection capability on parcel size versus home size. You know, we sometimes get the feedback that, you know, I wish I had a lot more yard, and also, of course, you know, the land impact to be able to decorate more inside the house on top of it.
Yeah.
And we see that as potentially a trade-off, or maybe we even do something in between with like 15 36 square meter parcels, that will give you some more yard space and some more land impact allotment to be able to do both.
Yeah.
So we're gonna look at ways to do that and see how that goes, and we'll probably have more on that in the near future, as well.
Excellent.
Yeah. Ranches come to mind, for example.
Yeah. That you actually have a small ranch house and then you could
Hmm.
keep horses on your ranch.
I may or may not have just blown a theme. Who knows?
Who knows?
Um, Premium Plus sandboxes. We will put out Premium Plus sandboxes as well. They're not ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
The team has been very busy, focused on not just the past 2 Homes releases, you know, with Sakura having gone out very recently before we then rolled straight into, you know, the final prep for this event for SLB.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have a chance to get through Premium Plus sandboxes being finished, but that will come, as well as Premium Plus gift opportunities and drops and such, which also generally are enabled by having premium only accessible regions. Because we tend to gate that in that manner and put like the vendors and such in Premium Plus only accessible regions, so that you can go and pick up your Premium Plus only gifts and content and such that we might provide. One other thing that we're working on too, and this is bouncing back to Linden Homes, I almost forgot about this, is we are going to try to increase the limit for the number of home tries you can get while playing Game of Homes in a 24-hour period.
Right.
So TBD soon, TM.
Okay. I've seen several people ask, is there going to be any effect on the current premium level? You'll still be able to get the premium level.
Yes, everything about premium will stay as it is, intact. Pricing is not changing. You will still get all of the same features that come with normal premium, including the other, like the voice morphing, like priority entry comes to mind. You'll still have access to all the normal premium gifts and sandboxes and experiences that come with normal premium. So all of the normal premium stuff, and then all of this on top of it as well if you do sign up for Premium Plus.
Right. I'm seeing from Skylar Pancake a question. He says, I'm sorry, I can't see. There have been a lot of comments about people loving mainland during the talk. Is there any interest in revisiting current mainland and expanding on it? Zindra land prices are up to 10 lindens a metre for standard parcels. Water facing property, even on moderate land, is 20 lindens a metre or more. Finishing Zindra and adding more water-friendly moderate mainland regions would help a lot with land prices and be super popular.
Yeah, I mean the thought's certainly not lost on us, right? The mainland, and there's no hiding the fact that there is quite a bit of mainland of that is available and or can be made available. There's a lot of empty or abandoned parcels out there. The reality is that not every parcel can be a beachfront villa, right? Or a waterlocked parcel, right? That's not how the mainland works.
Yeah.
Those parcels and those costs are controlled by supply and demand. And so we don't have any more supply because I don't, for the foreseeable future, intend to grow or add mainland coastline, right? Which is in effect what's being asked for.
Right.
To be able to improve that particular cost situation. But there's a lot of mainland that is available, and there are a lot of pockets of mainland that do have, neat little features like inland lakes and water bodies and streams and things. So, is there something there that we could potentially look at with the team to maybe create more interesting inland land features? Perhaps. It's not lost on me. And it's the same with like increasing the overall continent size of the adult mainland regions. The adult mainland regions do have availability. There are parcels for sale, and through supply and demand, people asking exorbitant rates, and I will remind that land price gouging is actually against our terms of service and standards by rule. If people are in fact engaging in that practice, that is certainly something that we can react to. But on top of it, if people are paying those prices, there's got to be a reason for it, and it could be supply. And supply, of course, will escalate that if there isn't a lot available. But there is. And so, like, when I look at everything economically for all of the various land that's sitting out there available, I see a lot.
Mm.
And so, it's an easy and fast, way to fix the problem, is to throw more out there. But is that economically good for everybody? Or do I risk also devaluing everybody else who has potentially bought in at a higher rate? And so there's a lot to think about there. It's very complex. And I don't react quickly to those things.
No, I think it's got to be a suck it and see for a while before you can make changes. I'm just looking, chat suddenly went. Okay, so someone has just posted what they think has been mentioned. While that's happening, I was going to ask a question that came in earlier, which someone has asked.
I saw somebody mention that $249 is the price of a private region. That's not the case at all. $249 a year is about $20 and change per month. So when you think about it in terms of value, at $20 a month, it's actually even less than double the cost of the regular premium account monthly price, and you're getting more than double the features.
Someone has asked, it would be nice if we could choose our own names in Premium Plus. Currently, you have to choose a set last name. I imagine the answer to this, considering the amount of work that had to go into getting those set last names back, is going to be no.
So the ability to choose your own name, probably not, but the ability to potentially change names as a part of the feature list might be on the list.
Might be.
Might be. Future, TBD.
Right. So instead of having to pay, what is it, $50 now every time you change your name?
Right, plus premium. Right, because it's reserved for people who have premium accounts right now.
Right. But it could become free, possibly.
It could certainly become discounted to free.
Right.
I'm not going to commit either way at the moment.
I would think it would also probably be important if you're going to reduce the price considerably. It would probably also be worth putting in a choke so that people couldn't play Game of Names.
Yes. All right.
Okay, right.
So it's all downhill from here, right?
There's a lot. We'll be picking up questions and asking questions once we finish, but I'm sure that people want to know what's planned with Linden Homes.
Well, yes, and again, I don't want to overshare yet. I mean, of course, we already talked a little bit about, some of the potential plans around, how Premium Plus certainly impacts the Linden Homes product. We are you're constantly looking at various ways to improve the homes. And that includes additional, and I want to leave a little bit of meat on the bone for Friday, but that does include additional home types in the current themes.
Mm-hmm.
That includes additional, think of it as grand scale type community centers, like what we have had with other themes.
Yeah.
Like the tree house and the lodge, and the community gardens with Sakura recently. So we actually have additional community centers coming out for the other themes that are already in place.
Mm-hmm.
Updates to the homes themselves, and specifically our Gen 1 traditional homes are going to see a slate of improvements that I'll talk definitely a little more about on Friday. May even just tell
Mm-hmm.
people what we're doing. I don't know. We'll see. And yeah, we have more themes.
Right.
Why stop now?
Is there going to be one later in the year? Because there's not one, or is there going to? Are we suddenly, when we look up from this conversation, are we suddenly going to find that the land has extended?
We've traditionally tried to do 3 to 4 themes a year.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to hit that this year because of all of the other plans around. Well, so we will probably do another theme, hopefully by year end, and it'll cater to Premium Plus.
Right.
And the other improvements, it was time for us, now that we've released as many themes as we have, it was time for us to kind of, take a little bit of a step back from, release and, new homes, and revisit some of the old, right? We felt that it was time to make that pass at making some improvements on the homes that are there, adding to the homes that are currently there, because we always said that that was part of what our missive was to do. And we're going to have to work forward with tackling the plan of winding down the old homes.
Yes.
That is something that we have said from the very beginning. And we've been really super clear and transparent about the fact that someday we will have to tackle that, and potentially look at what sunsetting the original Linden homes looks like. I have some interesting ideas on how to do that don't include just turning them off one day and everyone's like without a house. We wouldn't do that. But being again the archivist that I am too, I also don't maybe see all of them going away, but I also can't keep many of them. And one of the fundamental things that we have to deal with is their control system. Their control system will have to be taken down, and so we have to think about how we want to handle that.
It's a shame to see them go in some ways, but yeah. You've now got kind of updated versions of all of them on the on Belisaria.
Right, exactly. And I don't want to, there's some great historical content and such that was built up even around those, that I know people would be really sad to see go, and like I don't want any of that to go away. So we've got to think about how to preserve certain elements of it. Maybe we will leave a small selection of them available. But like right now I think there's 3 or 4 continents worth of their own little continents of them out there, and if we take that down to, I don't know, half of one, and leave it attached to, is it Cape Ecom? Oh my gosh, there's so many regions. When I try to think of region names off the top of my head, it's like, yeah, that one. Cape Ecom, in that area down there. I don't want that to go away.
Yeah.
So we'll put a lot of thought into it, and again, I hope our track record kind of proves that we do this thoughtfully, methodically, slowly, and carefully, so that we come out on the other end in a great place.
Which homes of the Bellis area homes have proved most popular over time? I mean, I know there's a huge rush when new homes are put out there, but which ones seem to have the most staying power?
Oh gosh. So we look at the numbers, of course, right, and we can predict the popularity based on which ones stay with zero availability the most. And that really kind of, in my mind, has been a tie, probably between stilts, houseboats, and traditionals. I'm thinking through them all. Log homes probably come up right behind that, followed by, and I'm not thinking of numbers now. I'm thinking maybe more in terms of just overall sheer popularity, because some of these themes have a lot more inventory than others by intent. So like fantasy comes to mind as being hugely popular. Sakura has been hugely popular, but certainly by no means full, because of the number we released. Yeah, I think that's probably it in a nutshell, and the rest kind of taper on down from there.
One question, will there be special developments for the Premium Plus account holders, like a Nob Hill or Upper East Side or Kensington and Chelsea, as it were?
Well, I mean, we certainly could, tinker with the notion of doing something like that. We thought about that. I do want to be careful with how we handle that, though, for various reasons. But we had thought about, like, to just rough it out, the concept of kind of like a Premium Plus neighborhood area. But I don't think we have settled on any one particular approach at the moment on how we might tackle various things like that.
Right. I'm just juggling some notes on questions. Someone has asked if if someone is grandfathered at the 500 Linden weekly stipend, does the stipend go up to 900? And if we cancel, do we revert back to 500?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to it offhand. I will have to find out.
Right.
Because I'm one of those, as a matter of fact. And
So,
I didn't even think about it.
okay.
I imagine, like, when we go to do the blog post officially announcing this, we'll have an FAQ, and I'm actually just kind of jotting this down in the background right now so that we can make sure we get an answer to it.
Okay. I've got more questions to run through, so I will run through them with you. And they're not just about all these wonderful things, but they're going to there's other questions as well. For example, Liz Wilness asking, would it be possible to organise inventory via the website so we don't have to be logged in to do that?
Ooh, that's been something that I have even personally wanted for a long time. And it would be something fantastic to have. I know that there have been various thoughts put into that, even some fairly recently. The best person to probably talk to this about Scrumpety and Mojo, though.
Yes, I think I'll have a word
Yeah.
with them because they'll know
Yeah.
if
So if somebody asked that today, I would certainly come to
get any
Grumpy and
coffee.
Mojo's Meet
Yeah,
the Lindens for that one.
okay. Um, I want to I think I'm going to now reserve all mole related questions till Friday because I want to get in some questions that people have asked. And if we do both that and talking about moles, then it could be really, we could be here all night or all
Yes.
afternoon. Yeah. Okay, so V's picked up some questions and she says, yes, that was actually the, right, that was actually she picked up on the stipend question. Right. Maelstrom Janus Andel has a couple of ideas that he had found useful, extra benefits for long-term customers and an increase in prim size. Any chance of either? We've talked about the increase in prim size. So what about extra benefits for long-term customers? You know, a little res day gift, say. I think you and I both have an interest in that one.
Yeah. So if well, so we actually do the Res Day cake still, and marketing sends out an email on your Res Day
Lovely.
if you get it. Check your spam filters. I know it tends to kind of get thrown into the ether with that sort of stuff, but if you can go in there and resurrect it and get it out, it tells you how to get those sorts of goodies and such when we come up with them.
Right. Maelstrom also asks about being able to print your inventory.
Print it.
So that you can see exactly what
Mm-hmm.
you've got and then you could perhaps make decisions. I think this is another, it kind of relates to the idea of being able to organize your inventory on the website. I think, yeah, being able to look at it and print it out from the website.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine printing my inventory.
Yeah, when I log in, servers cry.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I mean it could be useful in some use cases to be able to
Mm,
potentially target maybe a particular folder and print it.
mm,
I don't know if that's probably a viewer ask or
mm,
request, but I would think if it were particularly useful, our friendly third-party development viewers or third-party viewer developers might pick up a request like that if it were really
mm.
popular. The
Do you see
the
Minka
huh.
Angel's comment? Patch, no printing your inventory. We love that tree.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's why I got to thinking. I was like, wow, I just couldn't imagine just like it. Print all. No, no, no. Like
Yeah,
we would be here all day. I'd run out of toner probably.
mm,
Poor
yeah.
trees. But printing maybe a particular folder. I mean, I would say that maybe is no different as grabbing a screen cap of said folder expanded on the screen and printing it that way too. But you know, um, it could be handy, I suppose, if it were directly in the interface some way. But we'll see. Probably a Mojo and Grumpy question too, at the heart of it.
Okay. Andy11 has asked about traveling by train and says it's kind of violent to change between regions. Is there a way to fix that in future?
So region crossings are this, and I've described it like this in the past, this technological feat and wonder of miraculous engineering. The things that go on under the hood when you teleport or change regions are quite magnificent in feat. Some things that tend to impact your region crossing performance, and probably the simplest things to look at, are your inventory size and how flat it is, as well as how many attachments you have and the complexity of them. Because every time you change regions, your everything about you basically, and I don't want to oversimplify this and I don't want to mischaracterize it, basically gets G-zipped up, sent to the next simulator, and then unpacked on the fly. And it's a miracle, in my opinion, that it goes as smoothly as it does in most cases. Groups can also impact it too. So, you know, the latency and the attachments you have, the vehicle you're sitting on, so many different factors in it. It's almost unfair to even compare, because when I fly around from region to region in general use case scenarios, I see little to no effect when I hit that region border. I might skip a teensy bit, you know, but I'm on and running again without any issues. But it's very different for different people, and there's so many factors, and that can even include your distance to you know, where the simulators are running out of. So if you've got latency and high ping times and such, that just introduces even more variable to how long that whole process takes.
Another question about, I think, Premium Plus things would be, if you could buy a private island, like a homestead, without owning a full region.
I'm sorry, ask that again.
Riot Hacks is asking about a Premium Plus advantage. Buying a homestead without owning a full region.
Yeah, so this is one of those changes like what I referenced earlier. With the doubling of the included land tier, I'm not inclined to make any other changes to any of the land products or anything in relation to or as a benefit of Premium Plus, you know, without some time to consider the impacts that we're already going to have had with making that change alone. But other economic impacts, because the change to the region lock in practice has some pretty far and wide reaching implications for the land economy at large. So I have to really be very considerate of if we do that and what impacts it could have going forward.
Right. You mentioned that we get an email and a cake on our rest day. Cully Jane the Sandlord says she's not had one ever, but she thinks it's more about benefits for long-term members. Guys, I'm sorry I can't read all the questions you're putting down in chat. Can you send them to V? V, can you dance a bit so they can see you again? And then they can come through to me through one source. But I haven't got time to look at all the chats because I'm opening other documents and things.
So just to kind of you know, give some insight into what we're thinking about doing, and especially with Premium Plus, you know, things like early access to large events that we host, for example, such as the Shop and Hops and such, could be a reality, right? And so when it comes to like long-term members and members who've been around for a long time, and the content that we tend to provide and produce on the grid, a lot of that has traditionally been focused on various premium membership levels. For folks who've been around on the grid for a long time who may not be premium, I do think that there is some more work that we can do in maybe doing additional, content additions or drops for them as well, beyond the birthday cake.
Yeah.
So stay tuned on that. We'll put some thought into it and see where it lands us, because I know that marketing has actually been talking to us about this lately, and we'll probably do something.
And I'll be talking to marketing on Wednesday.
Yes.
But that was a pre-record, so I won't be able to ask them that question directly. But hopefully, perhaps one of the I know that one of the marketing team will be here on Wednesday, perhaps more of them, and they might be able to answer questions like that. Right. Oh goodness, I've got a lot of questions.
Let's take a
Okay.
handful more and see where that lands us.
Okay. Will there be an increase in the avatar attachment limit?
So again, that would potentially be a premium plus future feature.
Right. Someone said, Bren Keenan has never been to one of these meetings, but is the goal to just complain while Lindens listen, or are we supposed to get feedback and or answers from Linden Lab? Well, you're getting quite a lot of feedback from Patch here to all the questions, Bren, I think. And I don't think everyone's just complaining. I see this more as a two-way dialogue. Patch, how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I've always been in the two-way dialogue camp as well. Most of you guys know I love interacting with you. You come to these year after year, and I try to be as transparent as I can be on everything and anything I can be. Sometimes a little too transparent gets me in trouble. But hey, that's fine. I sit in this chair for a reason, and I take my licks as I give them.
Do you remember how Ebby used to spill the beans on a regular basis?
Yeah, there was a reason why I sat behind him.
Yeah.
And just so
Okay.
people know, we will be present for the 2 pre-recorded sessions in World. If nothing else, to say hi to everybody again, and if any particular questions that we can answer come up, we can do so.
Okay, now this is quite an interesting question from Darlene XOXO. And she said she just paid a year for the premium. Would that be deducted from the plus if she
Yes.
decided to go that way? Yes, Darlene,
Yes,
you
there
won't
will
have to
there will
pay
be an
for it.
upgrade prorated path and such for people who've already paid. Don't ask me about the particular mechanics of how it works today. It's complicated, but don't worry. You will not lose any value for what you've already paid and the time that has already passed. And so whatever it is you have going forward will absolutely be applied to the new membership.
So, Kai Hope has asked a quick question. What about basic accounts? We've said that premium will continue and be exactly the same. Is that true of basic accounts as well?
Yeah, no changes for the foreseeable future that I think we're realizing for basic accounts either.
Right. Okay, we've talked about region crossings. Okay, someone has said, if I own a region, I have concierge. This is sparkly sugar.
Mhm,
If I own a region, I have concierge level
mhm.
support and some premium like benefits, groups, etc. Would I also gain other benefits?
No, your
Um,
benefits will not change if you do not have. So if you're concierge, right, and you have that certain amount of normal premium type benefits, that will not change. If you subscribe to Premium Plus, you will then get all of those as well.
right. Heather Starlet is asking about the prorated fee to upgrade. It's complicated, but it will be sorted out, Heather. Um, oh. um, Manus Simonades asks, I wonder, will SL Linden dollars be ever expanding into the cryptocurrency market? Well, actually, I'm going to say come to the talk tomorrow with Philip
Yes.
and Brad, because we talk quite a
Uh,
lot
yeah,
about.
I would pick. Well, unfortunately, it's been pre-picked. Philip and Brad's brain on this particular subject. They have a lot to say about it.
Yeah,
And you may actually even hear some of this sort of information from them tomorrow.
it's definitely worth coming to that one. Um, yeah, Maelstrom Janus Andrew also says it would be nice to have some upgrades to the building menu.
Yes, there are actually some viewer changes in the pipeline and such for the build tools floater. I don't want to talk about those because I don't want to spoil them, and I have no idea when they're coming. But there has been some work done on that as well as profiles.
Okay. Um, I'm going to say, please, can people stop asking questions now? Because I've got 2 note cards of questions to get through. And I'm going to try and keep going for as long as possible until either Patch or I fall off our chair. So, um, what is the roadmap for upgrading the graphics engine? Do you think that's a Grumpety question?
Grumpy and
Probably.
Mojo.
Yeah. Um, fixing teleports. We've talked about teleports.
Talk to
And if
Grumpy and
you
Mojo
want,
about teleports and region
yeah,
crossings too. Mojo being the VP of engineering, great person to bring that stuff up with. He owns the
right,
technical side of the house.
right. Question from Kane Maven. There are a lot of new and shiny, literally, features coming to Second Life, but there's also a sizable list of current issues. Is there a plan for addressing this technical debt? And if so, can we please have the details now? I
Mojo,
can
Mojo,
answer that.
Mojo.
Yeah, I'm asking them, and I also asked it as a philosophical point with Brad and Philip.
Yes.
Um, so you'll get an answer to that tomorrow, Kane. Um, with the current issues with the NVIDIA drivers, yeah, what kind of outreach is Second Life doing corporate to corporate to get it resolved?
I know that there has been outreach and communication with them. I don't know to what level though. Again, that's probably better left for Mojo as well. I'm sorry.
Okay. And a question about bringing back VR in World. Again, it would be a question for Grumpy and Mojo, I think.
We were just talking about it the other day.
Were you?
Yeah. Well, being that, the Office of Second Life, which consists of myself, Grumpy, Mojo, and Brett,
Mm-hmm.
basically run Second Life overall, right? we do talk about those sorts of things at a high level, and I recently tabled that as an item for consideration that we should think about it again. We've made a lot of improvements to the performance of the viewer, to where I have made my ask of, well, is it time for us to consider it again? And Mojo probably has thoughts on that.
Right. Moy has said, can I ask a question about making all users group space bigger? I find 42 to be restrictive to socialization, and that's one of the big pillars of Second Life.
Well, in our current construct of account feature enhancements and the paradigm, right, that exists between those different account types, there isn't a consideration currently on the table for us to increase basic account capabilities.
Yeah.
That might be a little difficult to hear, but that's why the three levels of account types exist. Now, the interesting thing that I think we can think about is there a such thing as an a la carte option at some point?
So you could pick things.
Maybe.
One of the things I think you and I talked about with Joe Yardley years ago, probably now, was the possibility of having sectors within groups so that you could send messages to different people. And say you're running an estate and you want to have a group for the managers, and you want to have a group for the residents, and you want to have a group for the events. And you can end up with 4 or 5 of your groups eaten up by the estate, running the estate. And it was just a question of whether you could actually have one account and have subsections. Did that prove too difficult? Did it? So that you could actually target messages within the overall group and say, I just want to send this to the officers in the group, or the people with this role in the group.
Yes, and I don't know if that particular feature really kind of saw much in the way of a favored push to get it done. The notion of just making groups better and more stable, and more robust, is ongoing work. But any other feature improvements to groups themselves, well, in the priority of things, right? Most of the time over the past couple of years, been spent on developing Premium Plus features, and that was a lot of work under the hood. We basically had to take and pull apart and/or make the system realize and understand, that each of the things associated with your account, like attachment limits, like group limits, like animesh attachment, or experiences, that those things could actually be even further broken down and offered up by various account types. Before you only had 2 account types, premium, not premium. So it was like an on-off switch. Well, we had to take it to a step further and actually now give the system more definition behind which of those features and their values belong to each account type, and that enabled us to give more account types on top of it.
Right.
So, that sort of a feature, is, I'm sure, on the roadmap somewhere. It's in the feature request list. I know that. But did it get prioritized over what everyone has wanted with Premium Plus.
Yeah. It would be. There is so much that people want, and it's all the sort of things where it reminds me of mesh clothing. You know, when mesh came in, it was sort of thought mesh would be used for furniture, it would be used for vehicles, and people raced out and started designing mesh clothing and then turned up complaining it didn't fit properly because you couldn't shape it to the body at that point.
Right.
And I just, you know, we never meant you to make mesh clothing with this. Fix it. It was just like,
Right.
yeah, you've given us mesh. It's not working. Fix it. But we didn't think you'd do that. Yeah, no matter. Fix it. Yeah, so these things sometimes strike me in the same way. Let's move on to another couple of questions. Okay, Tasia Mercury is saying, when are you going to fix the bakes on mesh bug so I don't have nightmares? I'm not quite sure what she means by this. It may be seeing people's faces on the back of their heads, or
Well, yeah, I'm not quite sure either, but you actually just mentioned, something really specific that has to do with how a particular creator has chosen, and it's not bad, right? This isn't a bad thing. It's
yeah.
just a particular creator, for example, has chosen to UV or map their heads a different way, and so you get that effect, right? And it's a switch on their product that makes things go one way or the other. And I don't see that as being a problem. It's a feature of a particular creator's product. So I'm not quite sure what they're referring to as far as a bug, because I'm trying to think through all of my encounters with everything I've done with bakes on mesh, even for my own avatars and such, with everything I do with the photography work that I do and stuff, and nothing jumps out in my mind as like this is a known issue.
Yeah.
I feel like it all just generally kind of works. So I'm not sure.
I have to say I love that particular head. I find it just looks great. Sometimes when
Bakes
you're
on mesh
laying
can't use emissive masking, and you can't put bakes on mesh on Animesh. Well, I would say that's a limitation. It's not a bug, but that was mentioned in the crowd just now.
yeah, I see. Okay. I'm just scrolling through the questions. This is an interesting question. I'd like to know if event regions would be available as a sandbox to those of us wanting to test them for things like games and physics-based puzzles. I'm sure that you don't have to be having an event to rent an event region. If you've got another use for it, you can go ahead and rent it, presumably.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting request. I suppose we could stand up an events region sandbox for doing some testing, but those instances cost quite a bit of money. And so I would have to think through, the benefit to doing that. Maybe if I have a spare instance laying around, we could turn it on, but I don't know how useful it would be if we have to turn it off because we need to use the instance, say for, SLB. Like we have all of our instances full right now, so there isn't even a spare.
Right. It'd be nice to be able, Flycan says it'd be nice to be able to share assets among alts, might that ever be considered, or is it regarded as a bad idea? Capital B, capital I.
If we're talking about like breaking the notion that content has certain permissions, and that speaks probably directly to the transferability of those items, even if it's amongst your other own accounts, that could be a bad thing. I tend to like to think about, and this is not necessarily a reflection of how we're thinking about anything, this is my personal opinion, that I feel like Second Life is the Queen Dowager of NFTs. Because our content was some of the very first to have ever been created that has a unique identifier assigned to every piece of content ever made.
Yeah.
Some of you know that as a UUID. And we have permissions, right, that make these items, able or not able to be traded and transferred, sold or not sold, right? And all of the various things that you can do to move that stuff back and forth. To me, right, and even over the years, the past 19 years, and when I think about it with this lens on it, we've been doing it a lot longer than anybody else has ever been doing it.
Yeah.
And so, the fact that our own content has all of these unique, identifiable, certifiable properties already about them is certainly kind of an interesting way to think about it when you sit down and pause for a moment.
Yes. You will see an example of a particular NFT tomorrow on stage. I think Brad and Philip were a little surprised that I produced it, but it was an example of an NFT.
Yep.
And but the thing about it is that it's so too is this is an NFT, but I don't think I'll be able to sell it for very much. Let me just see if I can res here. No, I can't. You probably can. I was just putting out a basic cube.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could almost call the act of building a cube, you just minted a piece of content.
Yeah.
Right?
And it has a UUID.
Yep.
It's an NFT.
Yeah. I
Especially
don't know how well that'll resonate with the community, and I'm sensitive to that. I don't particularly subscribe to the whole NFT slash token exchange thing, but
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. I'm going to say I've been talking about talks coming up. I just want to give you a rundown that tomorrow is the pre-recorded talk with Brad and Philip. And then on Wednesday we have another pre-recorded talk with the marketing team, but there will be members of the marketing team present who can hopefully answer questions. And Pat, you'll be here tomorrow as well, and hopefully can answer some of the questions that might come up.
Yep.
And then on Thursday we have the tech talk with Grumpy and Mojo. Mojo is new, and
Roast them. Oh, I didn't say that out loud. Just kidding.
and then on Friday we have Patch back with all the moles. Patch will be there to keep them all in order.
Yes.
How many are we getting this year?
Oh, we will probably decide that tomorrow. As a matter of fact, there'll probably be there'll be a handful of us, and there will be some folks probably present, who will be available to chat with us, and there will be others, I'm sure, to surround us who will be there to support the team.
Great. Okay, few more questions.
Yeah, I think we got time for a couple more, and then we can call it a wrap.
Okay. all of the current this is quite a tricky question, but I can see what Jadzia Nova is getting at, but it might be difficult to do, I would think. All of the current home themes are realistic. Will we ever have any Linden home themes that aren't realistic, that display the boundless creativity you can use in Second Life?
Hmm.
I think it would be really difficult to kind of then work on landscaping for them. I could see some.
Can you state it again? I kind of got
Yeah.
lost halfway through and thought like immediately.
Okay. All of the current home themes are realistic. Would we ever have any Linden home themes that aren't realistic, that display the boundless creativity you can use in Second Life? I suppose like something like multicolored towers and things.
Yeah, I mean my mind of course went straight to fantasy,
Mm,
right? But even then, as I was considering and thinking through the rest of what you were saying at the exact same time as my mind went there, I was like,
mm,
there is still a very made up in fact house, right? There,
yeah.
that's present on the parcel. With as fantastical as we tried to make everything else about the theme and to say that, hey, this thing is born of imagination,
Yeah.
it's there's still a house there.
Yeah.
And I feel like that comes from a lot of the feedback and drive that we have taken in and onboarded from the community over time as we've been working on the homes.
Mm,
People define their space and or the bulk of people tend to define their space around them as this thing with four walls, right,
yeah.
at a minimum. And they then can say that's their house and that's what they have the boundaries to decorate within, and so on and so forth on down the line from there. It would be really fun and interesting to potentially do something even more fantastical than fantasy at some point.
Mm,
What form that takes and can still operate within the confines of, we'll call it the covenant, and how
mm,
people define what they do, because there probably still has to be some sort of definition. I think will be an interesting exercise, if nothing else, if we can't bring it to fruition.
mm,
The team loves thought challenges like
yeah.
that, and we come up with a lot of really cool ideas as a
Mm,
group. So I don't know. Is that a space theme, but you still have to potentially live in something in space? Is that
mm,
an Emerald Towers type thing, like you mentioned?
yeah.
Well, you're still living in a thing,
Or you could
right?
have,
So like the boundaries are kind of necessary,
yeah.
but I'm not sure we would ever get out of that just for the nature of the way the bulk of people tend to define space.
Mm. I just had a sudden vision of an underwater region
My
that
mind went to
had
mermaids
like,
too.
yeah, like pod homes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm going to leave it there because that was, yeah, that provoked. Yeah, tiny homes and dinky homes. Yeah. Especially tiny homes for Premium Plus users. My goodness, they get Buckingham Palace all to themselves. Okay. Um, Mavro Michele-Sondi asks, what do you see as the unique selling point of Second Life against Meta and other worlds?
Ask that again.
What do you see as the unique selling point of Second Life as opposed to Meta and other virtual worlds?
That can be a deep question. The thing that leaps to my mind though is the fact that we value and highly regard our users' privacy way more than, if not the most, out of any other metaverse or virtual world company out there. And that's evidenced by the fact that we have long said and believe that selling people's personal data and or even data mining to be sold is a boundary we will not cross.
I think that is the unique selling point.
Yes. So anonymization, personal discovery comes to the top of my mind. Exploration, whether that be of space or self. Discovery. Those all come to the top of my mind as selling points for why Second Life is what it is and how and why it exists today.
I think that's a brilliant answer, and I think that is actually a really good point to end on. I'm sorry we didn't get around to every single question, but we'd be here for at least another hour if we try to answer all your questions. Huge number today. So what I'm going to do is drop the note cards and the messages I've been having on Patch, and he can then at least think about them and know what residents are actually.
Yes, I would love to be able to go through them. Maybe I'll even have some time to reach out to some folks and answer your questions one-on-one.
That would be cool. It would be nice, perhaps we should set up a podcast and talk.
Well, I have kind of gotten into these events here lately, right? With the American Cancer Society and Relay for Life. And they one of the more popular things about them has been sessions or time in kind of like an AMA or Ask Me Anything type format. And so those have been a lot of fun.
Perhaps you ought to do something like that, set it up.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for doing this, Patch. We've been at this for just under 2 hours, so I think people will forgive us if we bring this to an end now. Thank you very much for coming, everyone.
Yes, and thank you, everybody, for being here. Without you, Second Life would not be possible. And thank you, Saffia, for yet another year of hosting Meet the Lindens with us. And happy birthday, Second Life. 19 years. Tomorrow, next year, we're going to have the big 2-0.